Shabbat Shalom. This past January, I spoke at the MLK event at the King Center. They have a priest, a rabbi, and an imam, each offer a little piece of wisdom. They asked me to read some Old Testament. And I chose to read for them the verse from Lech Lecha. I will bless those who bless you, and curse him that curses you, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. And I talked for like 30 seconds about what that should mean for all of us. Now, there was a part of me, I will now reveal my nefarious intent. Nefarious, it was about, personal intent. There was a part of me speaking to this crowd of majority non-Jews in a time of anti-Semitism that wanted to say, leave us alone. If you bless us, you'll be blessed. If you curse us, you'll be cursed. A little bit of self-motivation. But the main message that I gave from that, which I really do believe to be true, is those who spend their energy cursing others bring curses upon themselves. And those who spend their energy blessing others will find blessing. You could think of it in a sort of karmic way of divine justice. Maybe God is out there sending blessings to the blessers and curses to the cursers. Or really just as a sort of psychological reality that what you focus on in your world grows, and what you bring to your relationships will be what you will find there. So if you spend your time cursing the people you do not like who are not like you, you will find the world to be a somewhat cursed place. And in our country, in the politics that we currently face, we can see how this manifests on a larger scale in post-election, pre-election American politics. But I'm not going to talk about the election, but I know that this idea of being someone who blesses or curses is part and parcel of what we experience as Americans. It's also what we experience as Jews. And Thursday night, there was violence in the city of Amsterdam that, from all video footage that I saw late into the night, apprehensively scrolling through Twitter, which I do for you so you don't have to, don't do that, looked like an attack on Jews. Looked very much like a pogrom of staged people waiting outside the exits of a soccer stadium to attack anyone who sounded, looked, or behaved Israeli. Now, when I saw some of this footage, I saw a terrible scene of Jews fleeing down the streets in Amsterdam, being chased by men who've entirely covered their faces, holding weapons, trying to harm them. And I saw a bunch of Dutch people on their bicycles kind of looking like, huh. And my first thought was one of incredible judgment and rage. How could you be there riding your bicycle around when people are being chased through your streets? And I found myself having a lot of negative energy, some curses towards people I do not know. And an Israeli friend who had been helping to try and evacuate people from Amsterdam said to me very matter-of-factly, that is a very normal reaction. If you see people running down the street and you don't know what's going on, it's very unlikely that you are going to engage, even if you realize later that might be helpful. So I tried to walk back some of my judgment, but it still remains there. Now, 2 years ago, I went to Amsterdam. I went with an Israeli friend who was trying to find his lineage in the Netherlands. His entire family had been killed except for his grandfather, who fled to Israel and then had his family there. And his great-grandfather had been the rabbi of a very small synagogue in a city in the countryside outside of Amsterdam. So we went to find this synagogue, and we got there, and outside of almost every house in this village are the bronze-plated stones that the Dutch have put to remember Jews who were pulled from their homes. And we got into this synagogue, and I, for my German lineage or my neurosis, when I travel years living in France, don't tell people I'm Jewish often when I'm traveling around Europe. I like to just pass. But we remember I was traveling with my Israeli friend, And we walk into this building that used to be the synagogue, and it is now an old age home. And the woman who runs it comes up to us and she says, "What are you doing here?" And I'm about to make up some sweet story about something unrelated to Jews. And my Israeli friend says, "My great grandfather was the rabbi of this synagogue and he was killed here." Okay, that's what happens when you travel with an Israeli. And this woman was so delighted to see us. She said, "I'm so glad you're here. Can you teach us what is written on the walls? Can you teach us what happened here? Can you show us how this building works? Please have tea and cookies. Would you like me to show you around the village?" So now, here I am, sitting, seeing people on Twitter, again, not recommended, and feeling a desire to curse people in a city that I had just visited and found that they actually treated me with love and appreciation and kindness. But I bring this up to say it is so easy to try to curse when we see people from afar, and it can be much more real, much more relevant to bless people when we meet them face to face. When we look at Abraham, the patriarch of Lech Lecha, the one to whom this promise is told, "I'll bless those that bless you, curse those that curse you." We asked in Coffee and Commentary, if you're wondering what it is, we're just learning Torah and eating cookies. So you can come there anytime. We asked, why Abraham? What about him is the quality that made him God's chosen patriarch to make the Jewish people? I think one of the amazing qualities of Abraham is that he's not really a curser, meaning he doesn't go and curse others. A lot of terrible things happen to Abraham on his journey when he is told, "Lech Lecha, go and leave your house." He leaves behind his family, his father, his birthplace. He encounters a famine. His wife is taken into Pharaoh's harem. His nephew's family starts to fight with his family. His wife is unable to have children. And in none of these situations do we see an Abraham who turns in curses to the people around him. Rather, he moves through these challenges, always looking for the blessing, looking for the right thing to do, the way to solve the problem, and the way to be a man of faith who engages in whatever challenge comes his way. There's a midrash about how God chose Abraham that tries to pull out some of what his qualities are as this man of faith. I'm calling someone who is not a curser, but I know that that word is now used for something else, someone who does not curse others. And the midrash goes like this. What made Abraham recognize God, become a man of God, be chosen to be in relationship with God? He was like, the rabbis say, someone who passed by a bira doleket. So that is a building that is maybe lit up, doleket, and says, a building like this, one that is so bright, it has no manager? There must be someone in charge of this. And God looked out and said, I'm the manager, here I am God. So Abraham saw something in the world, you could say, a bira doleket, something that was just so bright, so beautiful. He thought this couldn't possibly exist without divine creation, and God said, yes, here I am. Now, the rabbis actually sometimes take this story another way because the Hebrew phrase bira doleket does not necessarily mean a bright, beautiful element of divine on earth, some bright, shiny thing that then showed Abraham God's presence. It can also mean a building on fire. So you could read this midrash another way, that Abraham came along and saw a building that was on fire, and rather saying, for a beautiful building, who created this? It must have a source. Looked at the building that was burning and said, who is managing this building? Is there a manager here? This has gone off the rails. The whole building is on fire. So this one midrash of how was Abraham this person who was chosen by God is saying maybe he saw something so beautiful he knew that God had to have created it, or he saw something that had gone so awry, that was aflame, that was burning, that he said, can it be that there is no one here? We need help from a God to fix this. So when I look at Amsterdam this week and what happened, you can see either that there are moments of brilliance in the world or moments of things catching dangerously on fire. On our journeys as we move through this world, big things happen. Terrible things might occur to us as we move through the world as Jews, as people, as Americans. And beautiful things might happen where we say also, wow, who's created this? Let's praise God. But sometimes we will say, who is in charge here? I need to speak to the manager. I'm pretty upset with the ways we're being treated, with the ways we treat each other, and with the violence that we see around us. But may this sermon in some way be the reminder to you that when things are bright or when things are on fire, one of the most powerful choices you can make is to be someone who blesses others, to bless the people around you, to find the blessing and the goodness that they bring to the world and to your life. Because as we learn in Lech Lecha, those who bless will be blessed, and those who curse will be cursed. Shabbat shalom.